Unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello. I think I'm supposed to push continue, or I can leave. I could just leave. Just kidding. So I'm Sarah Bedingfield. I'm an alcoholic. My maiden name is Red Wine, so I was certainly born an alcoholic. I was doomed from the get-go. So I was born and raised in Kingsport, Tennessee. My sobriety date is 12/10/2003. I was basically born that day. Not really, just making all kinds of jokes because I'm nervous. So bear with me a little bit. I've never told my story on Zoom. I'm very nervous about it. I've spoken on Zoom. I've done presentations for work. I've done all kinds of things like that, but not done this. So, but I know you guys are the same people in the meetings. So, and you understand my level of crazy, so it's okay. So my story definitely begins long before I ever took my first drink. My first memories are on my first fourth step that I did, because those resentments stuck with me from literally 3 years of age until I was working a fourth step at 22, you know. And Melissa F., I don't know where she lives or who she is now or what's happened to her, but my first resentment was at her because she stole my best friend and my boyfriend in preschool, literally. And I held on to that forever. That was one of my, we get down to root causes and conditions, and that was one of my first little root causes of, I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as everybody else. I'm different than everybody else. I don't have the long blonde hair like she's got, or I don't have this, or I don't have it. I immediately started that comparison. And even at that early of an age, I was doing things to become like everybody else. My friend, she's still one of my close friends, but she would have these clubs where it was snapping your fingers club, or picking your nose club, or tying your shoes club. That's how I learned how to tie my shoes and snap my fingers. And I'm sure I picked my nose. Anything to do at that point in time to fit in. And I was willing to do it. And that was where I was for my very, very first memories. Growing up, I wasn't, I was always really, really tall. So I always felt like, and I am super short. You all can't see me, but I am 5'2". Like, I'm very short. I stopped at 5th grade. But when I was younger, I was the tallest kid in my class. And so I stood out and I felt like I towered over everyone. And even as short as I am now, I struggle with feeling like I'm taller and bigger than everyone, even though I'm looking up to everybody. I always felt like I was different. I felt like I thought differently than people. I felt like, you know, that things just weren't kosher. They weren't okay. And there was no one in my life that didn't tell me I wasn't good enough. There was nobody that was telling me that I wasn't good enough. There was nobody that was telling me that I was bad, or that I wasn't loved, or that I couldn't do the things that other people could do, or anything. I was very capable of everything. I had tons of support from my family. I was very, very, you know, just loved and encouraged and involved in things and smart. And, you know, I could do all the things. And at the same time, I just wasn't good enough. And that's something my sponsor and I have worked for many years on. For me, is looking at, what does good enough mean for Sarah? And good enough for Sarah is perfection. And so I try not to use that phrase. I use it when I tell my story, but I try not to use that phrase when I'm working on my own stuff in my life, because that's too, because the definition I have for it is perfection. And, you know, this is progress, not perfection. I'm always going to be human, no matter how well I work these steps, or no matter how well I live life, or no matter what, you know. And so accepting my humanness has been a really, really huge part of this journey for me as well. I took my first drink when I was in the 7th grade. Me and my friend were at her parents' house and they weren't there. We were like, let's drink the banana rum underneath the cabinet and fill it back up with water. You know, that's what we did. And I mean, nothing really bad happened that night. It was there wasn't really much. There wasn't enough for us to do a whole lot of damage, you know, but I remember liking the relaxation that I felt, and the feeling of freedom and relief. Relief is a big word for me. But there was relief there. There was relief from worrying about who I was, or what I said, or if I was funny enough, or if I was good enough, or if I was any of the enoughs. The enoughs weren't there when I took a drink. I didn't drink again until I was in high school. And I had like a goal for a while that I was going to get drunk. Like I went to like this dance and I saw the boys that I had crushes on, and they were all drinking something out of baby food jars at this dance. And I was like, I need to do that. So if they're going to like me, I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to do, and it's going to be good. I'm going to do it. And, and so I wrote about it all through my little diary and everything, that this is going to happen. I'm going to plan it out and it's going to happen. And so I did, a few months later, drank a charcoal filtered vodka. It was really nasty, and it was like $10 for a big bottle. It was really gross. I still to this day cannot drink Hawaiian Punch. I hate Hawaiian Punch. I will not have anything to do with it. And it's from that night because I puked enough of it to kill somebody. But anyway, that night I did all this stuff that I feel like, you know, we talk about, and I love listening to Joe and Charlie, their old CDs and stuff. And I know I said CDs, I dated myself a little bit. So, but talking about like the difference in the alcoholic's body, and how what makes us be where we're laying in a puddle of our own puke and we can't wait to get to our next drink. That was my first drunk, was literally that. And I rolled in a garden, I peed on myself, I like all this crazy stuff, and like drug mud in my house. And somehow I managed to not like get caught. I don't know how that worked. I feel like my parents were in denial already. And I couldn't wait to do it again. I couldn't wait. I was sick for like 4 days and I couldn't wait to do it again, you know? And it's because I remember being with my friend and us walking outside late at night in the springtime, and we were sneaking out of the house, and it was cool outside and there was dew all over the grass. And I remember just going, I'm free, you know, I'm relieved. There's relief here. Because all my life I've had a lot of anxiety. I've had a lot of fears. That fear has, you know, fear is the corroding thread. You know, it is in my life. And it started, like I said, from a very young age. And a lot of the things I did and a lot of the ways that I acted were based out of fear. And I felt like when I found alcohol, it really was my solution for a very long time. I continued on the same pattern. I managed to do well in school for a while. I managed to, I made decent grades. I sang competitively. I traveled around the country and did singing stuff. And I don't know how, I smoked like a freight train and drank all the time and puked. So, and I was a puke and rally girl. So, I mean, my vocal cords couldn't have been in awesome shape at the time, but I managed to keep it together, and I really don't know how. And I look back at it, you know, and I thought for a really long time that I just functioned. I functioned for a while, you know, and I don't even think I was functioning. I think from the very first go, I was an alcoholic. I woke up a sleeping beast that was inside of me that gave me that relief. And maybe I wasn't physically addicted yet, but man, I was in it. I was in it. And I was so determined to keep these faces that I had alive, because I had many, many faces. There were many faces of Sarah. You know, there was party girl Sarah, and she's so much fun, or she's kicking down doors and breaking things and screaming and throwing tantrums at the age of 17 and looking like a 5-year-old, you know, or she's really fun. Or smart Sarah, intelligent Sarah, makes good grades Sarah, you know, or singing Sarah over here, you know. And then I've got different groups of friends that I do different things with, that this group of friends doesn't even know about this group of friends, and this person doesn't know about this. And I mean, I kept this lie going, and then it started falling apart, you know. About my senior year, like, it started falling apart, and I was having to lie, and I was having to there's so many like little moments that I look back on that I still kind of struggle with that. There's not like fully shame attached to it. I've forgiven myself, but there's that pang, you know, in my heart of, I wish you didn't do that, you know. I wish I could take that back, you know, of these moments. And a lot of them are just from lies, you know, just from a lie to a person that I really cared about. Because I had to keep my story straight. It was so important to keep my story straight. I had to be who I thought you wanted me to be. And if I wasn't that person, it was going to fall apart. And And my life was also very much based on boys, and if I can meet the right person, then my life is going to be set. If I can do this, and it was set on money, and it was set on this career I was going to have, or it was set on everything was this projection of what I was going to have to accomplish in order to be happy. And it was all material. And it was all just, nothing was based on internal anything. Nothing was based on heart. Nothing was based on anything of substance that we strive for today, and the promises give me today. I didn't even know I wanted those things from the promises until I got sober. So I'm one of the women it talks about in the beginning, or one of the young people that it hits quickly and nails. That was me. So I won't give you all the nasty details, but I'll give you a few, I guess, but it's fun, but whatever. I was 22 when I got sober. I was a baby. I might have been 22 by age, but I was very much at the mindset of that 12-year-old, maybe less, depending on the day. I didn't know how to live at all. I was very much one of, I wasn't just a binge drinker. I was an all day, every day, all the time drinker. I had to withdraw from school. I had begged for grades. I had done all kinds of things that I could try to do to get myself out of it. And I couldn't find a way out of it. And I did not want to stop drinking. I didn't want to stop drinking. I was so scared of stopping drinking. And I didn't want to admit that was the problem. It was, I hadn't met the right guy, or I'm just not in the right class. I'm not majoring in the right thing, or I'm not, da, da, da. And some of the people that I was able to later, some of the things that I did with some of my amends, where it wasn't necessarily, I didn't actually cause a harm, but they were part of that stuff for me. The harm was to self. I sent some thank you cards, and some of those thank you cards were to some professors back right before I got sober that had the gall to look at me and say, something's wrong with you. Something's really, really wrong with you. There was one professor that he was like a dad to me. And he tried to believe in me, and he sent me on an internship, and he did this and this, and he tried to help me, and I don't know if it's because he had daughters also, maybe he related, I don't know. But I remember the last time I sat in his office, and he just said, Sarah, he said, something's really wrong, and I don't know what's wrong. And I said, no, Dr. F, nothing's wrong. I'm good. Like, what are you talking about? I'm good. I look better than I've ever looked, and then that was where I was going with just my looks, whatever. I was about 98 pounds soaking wet. I did not look good. And my cheeks were sunken in. I bathed very infrequently, like most of us do. I just didn't have time in between the drinking, I was very busy. And then I had another professor that I went and begged for grades, and I stood there just crying to her, and she said, you didn't earn it, and you don't get it. You weren't here. And it was so real. It was so, those two times were the first times that I really saw myself for a moment. I had been able to hang out with people. I'd been able to kind of hide from it. I'd been able to kind of, duck and run and change the major and do the things, but I couldn't hide from what they were saying to me. And it wasn't just my family getting on my nerves. It wasn't just my friends. It wasn't just, and that was one of the big kickers for me too, was that I've been one that I care so much that I'm selfish about it. That your feelings determine my feelings, because I care so much about you, that if you're not happy, then I can't be happy. And thanks a lot, and I'm going to try to make you happy, and I'm going to try to, and that's not good either. But I've always been one that's kind of been where I've been. And I had, at that point in time, right before I got sober, I was at a place where I didn't give a damn. I didn't care. I didn't care if you didn't like me. I didn't care if we weren't going to be friends anymore. I didn't care if nothing. It didn't matter to me anymore. And I was never like that. I always cared. And I remember standing in my apartment going, something's off. Something's not right. So I called my parents to come get me. I called my dad. It's a big, big God thing in my story, because I didn't say anything except for, Dad, I need help. And he said, I'll be there tomorrow, 10 o'clock, be ready. All right. He came and got me, no questions, brought my Uncle Jack with him, and they got what we could out of my apartment and what was kind of salvageable at the time, and came back to Kingsport, and I went to treatment a couple of days later. I went to detox. I should have gone to a treatment facility following. The reason I didn't, I used to blame them for, but I blame me because I didn't speak up. I wasn't fully honest about what all was actually going on. Because I didn't want to. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do it. I met a boy in treatment, and we were so happy because we understood each other, and it was wonderful. And it ended with him going back to treatment and me going to jail. It was awesome. And I'm just grateful that I can laugh about it today, because it's just one of those things that if I don't laugh, I'll cry. I've worked through a lot with that situation. That situation particularly took me, it was like 8 or 9 years into recovery before some things came to light that, you know, how God reveals things as we're ready for them. Well, apparently I wasn't ready for like 8, 9 years for some stuff to come up about that. And for me to finish dealing with that situation. And I finally feel like I've dealt with most of it, but I don't know, he might have more in store. I mean, I might talk to y'all again next year and more stuff comes up. I don't know, you know, so I'm not going to discount God and keeping things from me till I'm ready. So, but anyway, that was a terrible experience. It did not go well, obviously. What did go well is it got me going to meetings. I wasn't sober yet. I wasn't even really trying to get sober yet. I was trying to prove to you all that I didn't need to be there. That was my goal. When I started going to meetings, I don't need to be here. I'm 22 years old. Don't you see me? I'm this cute little white girl. I don't need it. I don't need this. Like, y'all need this. I don't need this. And I desperately needed it. And what I needed was exactly what they did, is they loved me until I was ready to see it. They welcomed me back every time I came in. I quit picking up white chips because I picked up so many of them. And I remember my very first meeting that I went to, this girl was talking. I don't remember anything else she said, but she said, life sucks, drunk or sober. And I was like, oh my God, why am I here? You know, this is terrible. That has stuck with me throughout recovery, because life does suck, drunk or sober sometimes, you know? I mean, it just does. Drunk or sober, life is life on life's terms. So I can be sober and I can learn how to deal with it, and I can learn how to get through it, and I can learn from it, and I can grow from it, or I can be drunk and I can totally miss it and miss every single gift from every single bit of anything that I go through or deal with or every experience, because I'm entitled to not have pain, you know? I started going to meetings. I went to meetings. I would leave meetings and go get drunk after the meeting. I was very prideful about I wasn't drinking at a meeting. So, I don't know. Anyway, I felt like I got through an hour. You know, it was very good. There was one time, though, that I left a meeting and I went straight to the gas station, and I walked in and I got my 12-pack, and I walked up to I was a beer drinker, just FYI. So I know that some people don't think that makes you an alcoholic. I was going to die on beer. I just want everybody to know that. So, you know, I started out vodka and all that. Beer was my switch off. It was safe, apparently, not. And so I was a beer drinker. So anyway, I took it up there and I set it on the front. I was going to purchase my 12-pack. And here comes a whole freaking carload of the AA people that I was just at the meeting with. And I just stood there and I was like, oh, hey, I'll pick up a white chip tomorrow. Okay, guys, you know, and they all, like, it amazed me so much, because they all just smiled at me and they said, that's fine, Sarah, no big deal. Why don't you come to Perkins with us? Let's go eat some breakfast, some late night breakfast, you know, and then you can go get drunk if you want to. And I was like, okay, y'all don't care if I go get drunk later? No, that's fine. If that's what you need to do, that's fine. Just go to Perkins with us. Let's just go hang out for a little bit. You need to eat. Yeah. All right, cool. So I did. And again, did not get sober at that moment, but that moment stuck with me. I did pour out my beer that night. I did go buy more beer that night after I poured it out. I wanted them to feel like they had really helped me. But they did actually help me because they loved me anyway. They did not judge me when they walked in there. And I've never forgotten that. It was very, very special. And one of them I did get to make an amends to later, and let her know that I did lie about it when I told them I'm pouring out my alcohol. No, I did actually pour out the alcohol. I just bought more, but that I didn't drink again. So I continued to kind of do this like on off thing for a little while, and got to about December 2003. And I went on this really big binge for about a week and a half. My work kept calling. I worked at Bath and Body Works at the time. They kept calling me, and I kept picking up the phone, hanging up on them, picking up the phone, hanging up on them. I had been in a fight with my parents, with my grandmother, with everybody was coming and trying to take everything out of my room. And I was just fighting. And this one last night, there was nothing left. My parents took the battery out of my car. I couldn't go anywhere because my sponsor told them it was a good idea. And my sponsor at the time, I'm very grateful for it. I've thanked her for that since then. But at that moment, I was really mad. And they took the battery of my car. They were like, yeah, go start it. Go start it. Take your keys. Have at it. You know, I was like, okay. So, and of course, nothing happened. So then I was going to walk to the gas station, and I had zero money. I had cashed in all of my change. Like, I literally had zero anything. So I stole a check out of my dad's checkbook. And I was going to walk. And then I was like, well, I don't have to walk. I can call my friend Sam. So I called my friend Sam, and he's like, yeah, I'll come over and I'll bring some beer. I'm like, okay, great. My parents met him at the door, took the beer, said, y'all can hang out, but you're not having this. So we hung out, played Monopoly, and I was just pissy the whole time. And then he left, and I found 2 beers outside that I had hidden. And I brought them upstairs and put them under my mattress. They were very special. So I was like Princess and the Pea on my beers on my mattress. Nobody could get them because they had to remove me to get to my beers. And that night, I was going to kill myself. I sat up there. I sat there. I knew I had my 2 beers. I was going to drink my 2 beers, and I was going to do what they do on, like, in books and movies. And I was going to slit my wrist, and I was going to get in the bathtub, and I was going to bleed out and die. I had a knife. I had everything that I needed. I drank my 2 beers, and I felt that I was not drunk enough and did not have the courage to do it. And I didn't do it. I put the knife under my pillow, and I went to sleep. Somehow I went to sleep. I like to think now that they used to think, I didn't have the courage to do it. I don't like that phrase in the same sentence as the courage to not kill myself. The courage to kill myself. I didn't have the courage. I don't like that, because there was just a piece of me that had a courage to live. And that's the way I like to look at it today, is there was some little piece that was just enough, just that little mustard seed, that little bit of hope. The next morning, I told my mom what was going on, freaked her out pretty good. She took me to the Renaissance Center to a meeting, which is for an improvement group that's hosting this. Went there, waited till the last 5 minutes when they said, does anybody have a burning desire? I'm like, yep, I was going to kill myself last night, and I'd like to get sober now. Okay, thanks, bye. Don't talk to me. That was pretty much how it was. Picked up a white chip, and there were these 2 older men, like grandpas, that I absolutely love to this day so much. That this whole time that I was coming to meetings and I was going in and out, that they were going to keep coming back. And so every time I would drink, I would be like, keep coming back, and I was mad. But that day, there was such a difference, because that day, those 2 walked up to me and hugged me and said, I finally heard you say it. And I said, what? What did I say? That I got drunk again? And they were like, no, that you wanted to do this for yourself. That's what's different. You're not doing it for mommy and daddy. You're not doing it for sister. You're not doing it for all of us. You're not doing it for everybody else. You're doing it. You're not doing it so you can do this or this or this. You're doing it for you. And that's what needs to happen. And I was like, okay. I can maybe wrap my head around that. And it had not, until that moment, it had not occurred to me to do it for myself. do it because I wanted a better life, because I wanted it. I love the part in the big book where it talks about fully conceding to our innermost self. Anybody that knows me around the rooms now, I talk about that phrase a lot. Like, I absolutely love that. That's probably my favorite phrase, like this week, I guess. But fully conceded to our innermost selves. I love that phrase because it's not just the surrender. Because, and I listened to a speaker talk about this and talk about the surrender. You know, like in World War I, Germany surrendered, but they came running back for more. You know, they didn't concede. You know, and I feel like I kept surrendering and I kept surrendering and I kept running back for more. I kept going, wait, I've got to show you guys I can do this. I can get drunk. I can drink like a normal 22-year-old. I don't have to be you. To the point that when I fully conceded to my innermost self, I was okay with being you and I was happy to be you. And I was happy to embrace that. Fine, I'm 22 and I'm an alcoholic and I need help and I ain't having fun anyway. Y'all are having fun. How do I do that? Because I didn't know how to freaking do that. And honestly, like, it was for so long, like there was so much fear driving me in that moment. And the fear was so simple. It was, how do I have fun and be 22 and not drink? Like, that was, I mean, it was that simple. It was, how in the world do I live and be 22 and not drink? Well, hell, I couldn't do laundry. I couldn't put gas in I couldn't have a battery in my car. You know, life was a bit unmanageable. So I jumped in both feet at that point. I got really excited about it. I got really excited to be sober and to be part of a group and part of people that wanted to hang out with me. And oh my gosh, like, we stayed up all night. There was a whole group of us and there weren't a whole lot of young people at that point in time. So I was literally like, my best friend, she was like 17 and in high school, which was really weird. And so we hung out and we're still friends today and she's still sober today. And then, like, the next one up is my sponsor now, and she's 10 years older than me. And then there was another couple of people that were like 10 years older than me, but we were the young people. So we all hung out and we had this blast together and we would like stay up all night playing cards and going out and smoking cigarettes at Waffle House till 3 a.m, you know, and just doing all that. Like, we had a blast together. They taught me how to have fun and to laugh again. And I remember one night when we were bowling, I remember my friend Melanie, she was like, oh my gosh, Sarah, you have a butt and you're laughing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. You know, because I mean, it was like, those were things I didn't have. Those were like, how ridiculous that sounds, I know, but 22 years old and like, I hadn't laughed in I don't know how long. I don't even know how long. And I ate chocolate like a fiend. I know that people, like, I know that there's some controversy with the Living Sober book. I'm not going to get into any controversy, but Living Sober book saved my butt. And the part that saved my butt was the part that talks about like rearranging your room and your spaces and stuff like that. Cause I really, really needed that because I had to make a sober place at my parents' home because my parents still drank. And so I had to make my own little place at my home. But it also says you will never get pulled over for fat driving. Eat as much chocolate as you want. And I thought that was the most wonderful paragraph ever in the history of the world. Because when I got sober, I realized that I had taste buds and things tasted good. I really liked chocolate. And I really loved Coca-Cola Classic. And I really just enjoyed like sugar, which I still do. And I have dental issues that I'm not sure is from the drinking or the getting sober part, but it's okay because I'd rather be sober. But anyway, I ate a ton of chocolates. I went crazy on those little Hershey miniatures. Every single time I had an urge to drink, I would literally like sit there and unwrap like 5 of them and cram them in my mouth. And that was how I got through the urge to drink. That was how it went until at some point I was relieved of it. It wasn't there anymore. I started realizing it was longer and longer before I had to cram that chocolate in my mouth, you know, and now I still really enjoy chocolate, but I can eat it, you know, in little bits most of the time, instead of cramming it and worrying about, you know, having to change how I feel with it. So I got really involved in service right off the bat. It was really, really kind of, was very much encouraged to 3 legs of the stool, 3 legacies, you know, unity, service, and recovery. So I'm working the steps with a sponsor. I'm getting involved in service work, and I'm hanging out before and after the meetings, and I'm making friends, and I'm doing all the things, because I will do anything at this point that you all tell me to do, because I want to stay sober, because I do not want to feel the pain that I felt before. Because that relief that I felt the first time that I drank, that's the relief I felt when I finally said I'm done. And I could have that without a drink. And so I got really involved with the young people for a little while. I went to there was in Chattanooga, they were having the Tiki Paw, the Tennessee Conference of Young People in AA. I drove myself down there, got my own hotel room. I was just like going down there, like I didn't even know if anybody was going. Like I didn't know any better to even ask anybody. I just showed up. But there was a bunch of people from my area down there, and we had a really good time. But we ended up coming back home with the conference to do it the next year, and that kept me sober the first year. Like that really was like what kept me sober the first year, because it helped make me accountable. And I needed that accountability. I needed that responsibility. I needed to understand what it was like to make an outline for a meeting and a schedule and plan things and raise money and do this and this and this. And it was just such a God thing in my life. My sponsor and I today, we're the only ones that are still around from our original committee of the elected people. There are other people that are still around that helped us with it and stuff, but from our actual committee. And I don't know if it was just to keep us two sober. I don't know. So, Danny, sorry, I got a puppy back. So anyway, so I got really, really involved with the young people. I continued with that for many years. I served on the advisory council of Tiki Paw for way longer than they told me I was going to have to, which I think happens a lot in service work. Finally got to practice spirit of rotation and rotate off of there. And I've been back a couple of times. I really enjoy it. I turned 41 today. This is my birthday. It's Glenn Kay's birthday too. He's 41 also. But I turned 41 today, and I was thinking, like, I officially cannot serve on a committee for Tiki Paw any longer now. Like, I am over 40. So, because it's 40 and under, I am over 40. I officially cannot be elected, do anything like that with Tiki Paw. And it kind of made me like sad, but at the same time, it was like, hey, you've graduated, Because I remember looking at those guys being like, man, am I ever going to be as old as them? Like the ones that were rolling off. I was like, am I going to make it there? So it feels pretty good to be 41 today. Sobriety has given me just so many amazing gifts. I continue to work the steps. I'm not really sure how many times I've actually worked the steps. It's been a few and a half. So I've done more fourth steps than I have been through all the 12 steps. I'm kind of one of those people where I let it build up for a little while and then need to lay it all out. But it's getting better. My little step 10s momentarily are getting better. Doing those like in the moments and having that relationship with God as I get to go along and go through on a daily basis. I realize like a lot for me has been just being able to have those conversations as I'm walking down the hall to go get a client or do whatever, or, as I'm putting on my makeup or just whatever's going on, just having those little moments and those little conversations, and getting to recognize when I've done something wrong. Amends has been huge for me. The steps, all of the steps have been huge for me. I don't mean to just apparently I just jumped on amends. That was real important. The moment God wanted me to say that. All of the steps have been extremely huge for me. I don't know why amends came up for me, but anyway, apparently, maybe I'm going to share about it in a second. I don't know. I do the little word of the year thing. I started that last year with some friends of mine, and last year my word was forgive for 2021. And I feel that the word of the year is very similar to working the steps, as I feel them as I'm going through them and I experience them as I'm going through them. And my word this year is beloved. And I prayed about it, meditated, and that's the one that came up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get to be loved all year. This is so good. I was really excited about it. I thought it was going to be really cool. No, I've already experienced some lessons with it. It's already been a little bit painful. And looking at, in working the steps for me, I continue to work them because there's layers and there's layers and there's layers and there's layers. And it comes back down to those root causes and conditions, to those issues with self. And this is a disease of perception, and my perception and how it's skewed, and how sometimes I see things totally differently than they actually are. And how I can get so bogged down with me that I miss the whole picture and I can't see past the end of my nose. And so the steps give me awareness. They give me the ability to see those moments as they're happening and change, do something different, make a choice, or pause and don't do it at all, which is not perfect for me. I'm still working on that pause. But last year, the word forgive for me, the reason that it came up for me, and it's very much come out in my step work, has been me forgiving myself. It's been really, really, it's been so much easier to forgive everybody else. It really has. Like all those resentments, Melissa F, love her. If I could run in and we'd have coffee, it'd be fine. Not mad at her anymore. But all those resentments I carried for so many years, and my resentments with God, and my resentments with my grandfather for dying when I was 9, and all these things, these resentments that I just built and built and built and built and built, and they just built up, and I just made it this whole thing about self and how pitiful Sarah was, and how, I hated me. I really hated me. And in recovery, I even got into a place where I hated the old me and I accepted the me now. And I had to work through that as well, because the old me is still part of me. The old me, if I didn't have the old me, I wouldn't have gotten sober. All the experiences that I've had, I wouldn't be sitting here right now without the old me. She wasn't a piece of shit. She was sick and she was struggling. And so I've had to work through forgiving her for making the choices that she made and not separating. I'm sorry, I'm probably getting confusing, but me separating me now from me then. And for a long time, I thought that if I could just get back to the me then I would not have to make all the choices that I made. But I would have made them all over again because she was sick. She wasn't okay. She had struggles that led to this point, and they would lead to this point again. And so I've been practicing a lot of trying to get to a place where I forgive myself, where it's okay that it all happened because it happened, and that every single thing that happened can be made into good. It's like I heard somebody say this last weekend, forgiveness, it takes the punch out of the past. I loved that phrase. I was like, that's awesome. That is so real. And it made me think of our part where it says, we don't wish to shut the door on the past, or wait. We don't wish to forget the past, nor wish to shut the door on it, whatever. Anyway, I'm not a quoter. And I know that's how it works. And I've heard it 1,000 times, but it wasn't in order. So there you go. But I think of it as like, if it takes the punch out of the past, I can look at it. I can see it. I know it happened. I know it's part of my story. I know it's part of who I used to be. I know it's part of who I am and what makes me who I am and what gives me the strength that I have today. But I don't have to live there in that shame anymore. That's not me today. And so what's really interesting about this word this year, beloved, is that now that I've worked towards forgiving myself, now I'm going to start loving myself. And the little lessons I've already learned about that has been having a moment last week with family and feeling left out and rejected. And it kept coming up in my head, like God does, that little voice, and going, but you're loved anyway. You don't need people. I love you. You love you. You are loved. Why do you think you're not loved? You are loved, and I was like, stop it, be quiet. I don't want to talk about my word right now. I'm mad. That's kind of where I go. Me and God have a relationship like that. He's like, whatever, Sarah, you just hump on that hamster wheel. You let me know when you're done. But but it's really resonated with me that right now that's where that's leading for me is being able to truly love myself. Is not only am I stepping out of the shame and forgiving myself, but I can love myself. God don't make junk, no matter what I did, no matter what happened, no matter the choices that I made, I'm not junk. And that's a big deal for this little girl today, seriously. So I sponsor people. I stay sober by sponsoring people. I stay in service work. I'm part of this Appalachian Regional Roundup that people were talking about at the beginning. Been part of it from the beginning. So excited to have one this year because it's been too long, and we've got lots of fun things in store. And I can't wait to see all you guys. So I still do service. I still talk to somebody every single day from these rooms. I work with my sponsor on a weekly basis. I have 2 sponsees that I work with on a regular basis. And I continue to work the steps. I'm working the steps of codependency right now, which kind of took a pause during COVID. I feel like I just lost time, like everything paused. I don't know what happened. And so I was like, I need to start doing my step work again. So I'm finishing up the 5th step on that right now. And it's different since it's the steps of CODA. It's a little bit different but it's all, it all comes from Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at these belief systems and just kind of where I am and what these root causes and conditions that if I'm not careful, if I don't continue to work through the steps and to work this program to the best of my ability and try to practice these principles in all my affairs, I lose that awareness. And if I don't have that awareness, I don't know when I'm getting real sick and I don't know when I'm going to pick up a drink. That's what's terrifying to me. As long as I keep kind of trucking, and I know it's like work, but I enjoy it. Like it's fun to me today. And I can say today, I used to think people were crazy when they were like, I am grateful to be an alcoholic. I am grateful to be an alcoholic. I'm absolutely grateful. I'm grateful for my past. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but I'm grateful that it happened because it brought me here. Because like I told you before, all I cared about was money, relationship, like romantic relationships, money, and I didn't care about anything of substance, anything that was real. Today, I don't care about it. I became a therapist in a community health agency, so we know I don't care about money. So that's not an issue. I love what I do because it's not about the money. It's about the kiddos that I get to work with on a daily basis. I have 2 little girls, thought I wasn't going to be able to have kids. That has been a whole thing. And you know what? The step book, the 12 and 12, and there's a part in step 2 where it has this little teeny blurb that says when people had sick children or they could have none at all. That saved my butt during that period of time because I was not alone. That one little blurb showed me that I was not alone, that Bill W. struggled with that. And even though there were people around me, it was just so helpful just to know. And I know that no matter what I go through, one of you guys has dealt with it and can show me how to do it. I became a mother in these rooms by the women showing me how to be a mother. I grew up, I learned how to do laundry. I learned how to go grocery shopping. I learned how to pay bills. I learned how to keep a job and not just walk out or go there drunk. I learned how to do so many things that have given me a life today in these rooms from you people. So I know that I'm like got about 5 minutes. So I'll wrap it up. But I appreciate you guys listening to me share, and thank you so much for your grace for me just speaking for the first time on Zoom. And I hope y'all have a great evening.